the man from Abilene.
The period after World War II was a pinnacle and defining period of time in American history. The country declined into a conservative mindset while success and general happiness increased. Babies were being born, veterans were being educated, civil rights took a stand, and Americans had the highest standards of living in the world. Yet, for years to come, the tensions between the Soviet Union and the United States had the world sitting on the edge of its seat, as threats of nuclear warfare put shattering prospects on the future of mankind. These years were the 1950s.
Mr. Simon, bring me.
During World War II, women were able to take many white-collar jobs that were left open due to the amount of men overseas. When the war ended, however, these women generally left their jobs and resumed a very traditional household role. With the return of so many men from war in the 50s, families began to increase by a drastic amount. This so-called baby boom exploded the middle class, and idealistic families sprung up everywhere. As women returned home to a more conservative role, this cult of domesticity became a popular mindset to many Americans. A woman's job was to raise the kids and make the husband comfortable after his presumably long day at work. As the decade crept closer to the 60s, however, women began seeing an increase in the number of jobs available to them. Though mostly clerical work, this rise in independence led to a cultural shift in the 60s and eventually a much different future for women. In modern times, about 65% of women are in the labor force. The effects of the baby boom are also visible. As these baby boomers reach Social Security age at the same time, it puts a strain on the economy, and many are arguing about whether or not taxes should be increased to compensate for this increase.
The GI Bill allowed for war veterans to receive an education which allowed them to get white-collar jobs. This created a whole new middle class. By the end of 1956, roughly 2.2 million veterans had used the GI Bill education benefits in order to attend colleges or universities. An additional 6.6 million used this program for some kind of vocational training. This new middle class created more consumers, which in turn contributed to the post-World War II economy.
Of Ford's Lifeguard design. See your Ford dealer soon.
In recognizing a communist, physical appearance counts for nothing. If he openly declares himself to be a communist.
As tensions grew between the U.S. and communist aggressors, primarily the Soviet Union, the second Red Scare in American history took form. Adding fuel to the fire was Wisconsin Senator Joseph McCarthy, who became one of the most infamous and ruthless Red Hunters in history. With this steady stream of unsupported accusations, McCarthy lost thousands of civil service employees their jobs in the 50s. In 1951, Dennis versus the U.S. led to the Smith Act, which became the first peacetime anti-sedition law ever made. Congress also passed the McCarran Internal Security Act. This radical act made it unlawful to advocate the establishment of a totalitarian government and restricted the employment of peoples joining Communist Front organizations. Additionally, the Committee on Un-American Activities investigated government officials and the Hollywood film industry for their involvement in communist activities. Finally, McCarthy's reign came to an end when he took it too far and began to attack the U.S. Army.
Look, you've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir, at long last?
Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum. We'll take Ike.
In the election of 1952, Republicans easily nominated World War II General Eisenhower and running mate Richard Nixon. The Democrats had a more difficult time finding a candidate due to the previous scandals in the recently tarnished Democratic Party. They finally settled with Governor of Illinois Stevenson. Eisenhower was an honored war veteran, and he was widely liked throughout the country. Nixon, though not as well known, was a ruthless campaigner and a wonderful speaker, as demonstrated in his checkers speech, which saved his campaign. The outcome of the election was evident from the start. Ike won with 442 electoral votes to Stevenson's 89. A month later, Ike stood true to his promise and took a 3-day visit to Korea, yet unfortunately did not achieve peace with the North Koreans. Notably, Eisenhower was the first candidate to really take advantage of the blossoming post-World War II technology boom. His use of TV ads no doubt helped him spread his message across America. Eisenhower is remembered as a comforting president who is well-liked, and for enforcing integration with the armed escort of the Little Rock Nine.
pink Cadillac, going down the road. I told my baby, ride a tough load. Oh, baby, look. And then she said, I'd rather have you hunt along.
The 1950s were a time of prosperity and comfort for the US. While the rest of the world was recovering from the devastation of World War II, America emerged as a superpower, ready to challenge the Soviet Union for the world.